I think the first thing is to focus on one thing first, right? I think that the majority of the problems that I see from career coaches is that they are trying to solve everything at once. They're trying to build their course, record their content, write a book, be in a podcast, write a YouTube channel, grow their LinkedIn. They want to help everyone and everything. There's no niche. And if they can just simplify and solve one problem at a time and say, okay, first I need to do is solve the right offer. Do I have a right clear or avatar or ICP that I'm helping? Do I have a clear offer? And then second, then figure out how to get leads. And don't worry about building a scalable system right away. Just focus on getting leads, get them clients, and get them results.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. Before Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7 and 8 figure career coaching businesses myself and consulted with 2 career coaching businesses that are now doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or just building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business. All right, Daniel, super excited to have you on today. As in, you have an incredible history in terms of the things that you've been able to do in such a short period of time on it. And one of the things that's just always fascinates me is the history and how you became a career coach to start with. Obviously, you share a lot about this on your LinkedIn posts as well as your YouTube channel, but I'd love to know what inspired you to become a career coach? How did Opni start? As in, you're hitting 8 years this year, so that's an incredible ride.
No, first of all, thanks for having me here, Davis. But for me, I think career coaching came from seeing the disconnect between what companies were looking for right out of college and what I thought students, or when I was a college student back in 2012, was looking for. And really what happened is when I graduated college in 2012, I had a lot of job offers and I wasn't the best student. I graduated at 2.9 GPA, but I was really good at networking and building relationships. And fast forward, I decided to work at PepsiCo. I'm in a management training program. I'm sitting in a conference room, and they were talking about how they were having a hard time finding the remaining 15 spots available for the management training program. And I was like, how can a company like PepsiCo struggle to find 15 spots? And they're like, well, we don't really struggle finding applications. We get thousands of them. It's quality over quantity, right? And we want to find more people like you that have like work ethic, good communication skills, right? And they're like not afraid of hard work or have grit, right? And I was like, look, I know a bunch of people like that at my school. I went to University of Central Florida, and I ended up, they're like, sure, like you kind of like whatever you want. We don't even go to that school. It's not even a core school. I'm not even sure how you got hired in it, right? And so I was like, so I started getting involved in and going back to my college of business, speaking in the classes, in the student organizations that I was part of. I had really good connections with career services. And fast forward at the end of the year, like the majority of the people they hired came from this non-core school. And it's all because I was able to go and speak and like say, like, you need a job at PepsiCo if you have this, this, and this. And that's kind of how it started. So I got involved in campus recruiting while still working at PepsiCo, while getting promoted and growing through the corporate ladder. And to your point, in May 5th or 2018, I decided to like, hey, what if I become a public speaker, like a real like public speaker, and just go and travel, speak at universities on how to get a job. I'm sure they'll pay me. I've already done this 200 times. And long story short, Davis, they didn't, man. And so I quit my job, went to be a speaker. I wasn't getting paid. Somebody told me I needed a book, so I wrote a book. That didn't work out that well. Even though it became a bestseller, I realized that I could be a bestseller and still be broke because Amazon keeps all the money and the book distributors keep all the money. And then I was finally got my break. I got 6 universities to, this is back in fall of 2019, to pay me $6,000 to go speak. I'm like finally going to get my break. And then COVID hit, right? So this is fall 2019. All my speaking events is spring of 2020. And that's kind of when I was forced to pivot to make my book into a program. Long story short, that's kind of was like a full-time career coach at this point. And a lot of trial and error, but it feels like a fast growth, but to me, it felt like a lot of failure. And then through those moments, I had started a podcast, which is now called How to Get a Job. And I interviewed over 350 career coaches on how to get a job. So like, hey, how do you help people get a job at Google or whatnot? And that led to me understanding that most career coaches are really good, have great background, mean really well, but are terrible business owners. And they don't know how to run the business. And I know you know this because I'm sure you did this whole study. What do the good career coaches have in common versus don't? And so I was primarily helping international STEM students get jobs, so get their H-1B visa. But about 2.5 years later, as elections were coming, the country was divided. The tech companies laid off a bunch of people, specifically because they knew AI was coming before all of us. I was like realizing that my clients were making it harder and harder for them to get jobs. And so I either realized, as somebody who really cares in client success, I either need to pivot my ICP to a different type of career coaching, or I need to find something else. And because I've only spent 6 years in corporate America, like I was a manager, never a director or vice president, felt really, I didn't have the conviction to help a manager become a director or do something I didn't do. But what I did do was build a 7-figure career coaching business. And so that's where, like 2.5 years ago, I started transitioning to coaching career coaches. And so, yeah, that's what I do now. And so it's like the long story is like I figured out that I could do this, started working in a beta test without like changing my ICP, and then saw they got results, and the average client that were coming to us beforehand was making no money, and now they're able to leave their full-time job and they're doing great.
Yeah, I love that. There's two parts of it I love, right? Resonates to my own story, which is the failure to speak. I remember the same thing. I was working corporate. I was like, man, can I just go to these universities and speak? In the beginning, I was just thinking to myself, oh, at the time I was running my consulting offer, which is very similar to what you do with Opni, except instead of H1Bs, we work with people who want to go in management consulting. So they include H1Bs, but also others. And I remember one time I was going to be in the Boston area for a wedding anyway. So I just messaged Harvard and I messaged MIT and said, hey, I'm going to be in the area anyways. I'm speaking. I'll do it for free. And I think to myself, maybe I'll pick up some clients along the way. I get to it, and I'm literally flying here again. I'm going to be there for the wedding anyways, but I take a day out. I go to MIT and there's like 7 people there in a room like built for 150 people. And I'm just like, man, this is what failure feels like. And then I go to Harvard the next day, there's like 14 people. I'm like, man, all right. And it took a year until that was 2018. So 2019, same process. So you and I were probably in the same time. And then I came back to Colombia, and there's a room of 250 people. But again, people see like on our social medias, they see that picture of us speaking, or in your case, you're going to these events, you're going to Colombia. They see the mass audience, but they don't see all the, hey, before we had like 700 people, here's 7 people, right? Mm-hmm. So I remember, I know you brushed through it, but like so many coaches have to go through that failure to really appreciate the high of it. And the second thing I admire is that you were just really quick to pivot. So between both of us, we talk about this a lot, is that there's a lot of career coaches who are playing on hard mode, and because it used to be on easy mode, and then things change legally, things change, job market change, but they don't adapt with the time. Like one of the things I'm really impressed with is that how quickly you pivot, and hopefully I can mention this too, is that you immediately mastered LinkedIn, and immediately now you're teaching people how to master the LinkedIn game with career coaching and all of that. And so it's just amazing how well like other coaches I see who flounder. One of the reasons is that they never move on, but you're like, you know what? There's something here. I'm just going to go for it. Like even when you were at Pepsi, you're like, okay, you know what? There's something here. I'm going to go for it. You know what? There's a book. I need a book. But you know what? The book is not working. I'm going to go to the program. You know what? The program. All right. There's a lot of things, layoffs going on. I'm just going to go towards another CP, and I'm just going to continue to evolve. I was like, well, you know what? You know what they need? They need LinkedIn help for lead generation. I'm just going to go there. It's like, that's such a superpower that you have in order to like just have that rational thinking versus holding on to what is there. It's like, the thing that I would think about is that one of your superpowers I've just observed is that it's not just seeing what's there, it's just seeing what could be there if you don't hold on to what's already there. And that is such a superpower because most people hold on to what they know and love, but it prevents you from having something else. So I'm just giving you kudos for that one.
Thank you. I think that's a superpower, but also a kryptonite.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that if I think a lot about that, that also applies to most of us. Like our biggest strength is also our biggest weakness, or vice versa. Our biggest weakness can become our biggest strength because, yes, I have this like level of like seeing like maybe this is the right time to pivot, but sometimes I might have pivoted too early and I just don't know, or I should have like, held my ground more. It's like, so how do I balance that? I think this is a struggle, but I appreciate you saying that because it means a lot coming from you.
Well, based on the conversation we have outside the podcast too, I personally just think that you look at the indicators the same way I do, right? We see these leading indicators that's just telling us that, hey, there's a better opportunity out there and there's better indicators out there. So it's not like if you were out there like switching every single day, I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna give this compliment, but you do it very deliberately. Like even when you were switching your CP, when we were talking about, you were looking at the internal metrics. You're like, hey, and you were reading the news, you were reading the facts, you were literally just looking at things very structurally. It wasn't like, and I imagine there was a period of time you talked about, hey, we're just continue to make this work, but you're like, no. So if anything, I actually think that you do that very well with the pivot because it's not like I got this idea, shiny object, I'm going to do it, but you really plan for it. Like even when I was looking at your LinkedIn Accelerator launch, you did it very deliberately. Like in the community, you're just like, I don't think just like, hey, I got something coming up. It wasn't like, hey guys, I got this thing I just developed. Let's come in, right? It was a very deliberate. You could tell that behind the scenes, you and Reno were already planning this ahead of time. It wasn't like, yo guys, tomorrow we're just gonna do this. It's
We
like,
did this, yeah, in January. To your point, like it was like when I went to visit Adam and Reno in person, I went to Chicago to visit Reno, and then Adam right after the same trip. It was like I just went down to the United States, right? We came up with the idea, and so there was planning. To your point, they came to. But yes, I we look at the KPIs. We make data based decisions, right? And I think that's something that you do really well. You're like looking at the data to make decisions, not just you can have an intuition and have a gut feeling, but you it's based on something. It's guiding you. You have a compass.
it is, and you guys did have see. Like, I didn't know that story that you guys were playing this all the way 4 months ago, but I could just tell it was very deliberate the way that you, all three of you, revealed the program versus just, oh guys, we're just having some beer in Chicago. Let's just do this next week, right? It's like very deliberate. So when you said, hey, is a kryptonite? I think for a lot of people, if they keep continuing to switch. Like I have a friend that is started as a coach and then realized, oh, being a coach was harder than what she thought it was to be. So she switched over to something else. Thought that was hard. So did shop shipping, moved over, and she keeps moving, moving, moving. But it's the idea that, yes, but that's pivoting before things actually get hard without the data. It was just more like, what's the first obstacle? I'm just going to move. But I never seen you doing that. And so that's really impressive. And so I'm curious, like, what's the vision that you, Reno, and Adam have for the next 1 to 3 years with the accelerator, with everything else? It sounds like you guys are trying to build an ecosystem out there.
So I don't know that the three of us we enjoy working together, right? So like, for example, Adam and Reno, it's a crazy story how we met, but we ultimately met through LinkedIn because Austin Belsack, I had paid Austin Belsack $1,000 for 1 hour to teach me LinkedIn. More than any strategy he taught me on LinkedIn, which was a lot, he said, you should just do a mastermind with creators that are like growing around, like that are around the same size as you. And he goes like, you should do Adam Marino because I think you guys are very similar, like in the way we think, values, and stuff like that. So we started doing a quarterly mastermind. This is probably 4 years ago. Like, so it's like a long time before we have anything to sell, before anything I had to sell them, right? And then when I pivoted to helping career coaches, Adam was like, hey, I'm still working full time at Amazon. I can see myself doing this a long time. I have the following, but I just don't know like how long it would take me to scale this up. I'm like, let's do it, right? So like, let's partner up, let's do it. So Adam became a client of mine. Then Reno became a client of mine. We just enjoy the working relationship. They can see what I bring to the table. I can see what they bring to the table. And so we started the LinkedIn Coaches Accelerator because I was focused more on like middle of the market, right? I think you focus a lot, even like career coaches that are doing a lot more. And so we saw the gap that most career coaches struggle to make their first $5,000 to $10,000 a month. I focus more on like a $10,000 to $80,000 a month, right? And so we started there. But for me personally, as the vision, I think that it should get to a point where the question should be, which career coach should I use versus should I use a career coach? And those decisions are like, it's really weird to think about it because less than 20% of people use a career coach. But if you ask people what percentage of them who buy a house use a realtor, it's completely flipped. It's over 80% use a realtor. And how many people have a financial advisor? It's not as high as that, but it's still much higher than the career coaches. And to me, what retirement and the house you buy is based on the career you have. And so why isn't that the most important decision of your life after getting married? It's not actually not buying a house, it's your career. Why are people not getting help when you think about you'll never find an Olympic athlete or a CEO who doesn't have a coach? And so to me, like the grand vision is like, there should be normalized career coaching, and why not be the one that like standardizes it, makes it more normal, and make sure that there's a good service. And so I think that's kind of where at least I'm heading for, and I think Reno and Adam could like be a big part of that as well.
No, I think that's a big vision, as in just talking about your own vision there. It's like I agree, right? People use, and not just career coaching. I think about this on a daily basis, but some of the biggest things that we actually spend our time on. So for example, people will buy cheap mattresses, even though you're spending a third of your life on a bed. So if anything, you want to invest there. Obviously with your work, you want to make sure that you get a coach, or you want to make sure that you're set up for success long-term, because again, another third of your life. And then assuming that you're married and whatnot is like investing in the relationship, counseling or whatnot. And yet these are just so under invested. Consider to other people, like these reports that say, hey, people spend more on their computers, their tech, their dog's food than they do going out, and then just the things that are taking up a disproportionate part of your life. And it is, and I love that fact that you're doing that. And one of the things I always admire about you is that you're always investing in, like you mentioned, like, hey, I paid $1,000 for Austin to go look in consultation. I've done the same thing as well, right? With coaches who are paying thousands there. As in, And one of my favorite LinkedIn posts about you is like, hey, it's about the value of the coach, not the time to coach, and you talk about it's about what the value you bring. And so I'm just curious, what have been some of your favorite coaching programs, masterminds, or communities that you've found the most valuable and you're growing who you are today?
Yeah, I would say working with Austin was super helpful, even though it was just like a couple of hours. I would say anytime that like life is a trade-off of time and money, right? That's why I'm such a big advocate for coaching, is because the biggest shortcut you can have is education, right? And so if I can learn from someone. So I would say that I currently enjoying a lot working with Alex Hormozy and their team in the acquisitions.com. So they have this thing called VAM, which actually a mutual friend of like your friend, I met him. He just happened to be there he was there that weekend, was there. I've also worked with this business coach. She was the one who helped me go from like $3,000 to $4,000 a month to $20,000 a month about 4 years ago. His name is Alex Kuhn, and he was amazing. I love the fact that he's very mission driven first. I like mission. I think for me, a good career coach should be like 51% or more care about the impact that they're making. I'm not saying this is a non-for-profit whatsoever, but I do like the fact, I think there's so much easier ways to make money aside from career coaching. But those are, I would say, are the biggest ones that come to mind.
I love that, right? I know I always tell people that we become career coaches not because we want to maximize money. There are a lot of other easier ways to do that if you want to do that. But it's like the whole concept, right? We get to learn, we get to make an impact, we get time freedom, and we get to have a high income as well. And I love that. Yeah, you ran into Sam who's going to be at our retreat in 2 weeks actually too. But it's a small world, right? Alex and Rosie runs all these workshops every single week, and then all of a sudden, two people I know just happen to be there, like, Joe Davis, you guys know? It's like, yep. And I almost wanted to screenshot it when you guys both messaged me. I'm like, yeah, I already know you guys, but have fun there, right? And I love that, what you said, because that's what I believe as well, which is that time is finite. It's the money, you can always get it back, but time is like the biggest thing where if someone has done it. So I remember the first time I came across this saying, which was just that you wouldn't be your own doctor. So why are you trying to be your own business coach? And so it just really resonated with me when I was starting my business too. It's like we were able to hit 1 million within a year. And it's literally because I hired a bunch of coaches. Like, for example, how do I scale my coaching? I literally figured out, all right, here's the guy who ran all of academics for Kaplan. Just give me your hourly rate. And of course, at the time, it was the highest I paid. But of course, I paid way more then. And he just literally said, hey, this is how we build our curriculum. This is how we scale. This is how we hire. These are the contracts that we use. And all those things could have taken me years to learn. But here I was paying for him every single week for 2 months just to teach me everything. And it was just breathtaking. And that of course accelerates everything where you go back in and you buy. It's like you buying a whole entire lifetime of years down into one. So when you're paying Austin like $1,000, it's not $1,000 right then and there. It's like you're paying him for years of his experience, of all the trials and tribulations. Of course, it pays for because right now your LinkedIn is thriving, and of course you've made it more back with the LinkedIn Coaches Accelerator, obviously. But it's like those things that you do at the moment in investing, you don't know how it pays off in the long term, but it just does.
Yeah, 100, 1,000,000,000%. Like it's, especially if you actually execute it, right? So like if you just pay somebody and get their knowledge and don't do anything, then sure, it's a waste of money. But if you execute it and you're hiring the right person, like you're vetting it, like the guy you described, he had the background, he's been there, done that. Like it's going to be very hard for you not to be successful.
Exactly. It's like I love it. I was talking to another career coach right before this as well, where it's like she was asking me like, how do you know when you found the right coach? Because there's so many coaches out there who anyone can be a coach, but it's like, well, have they done it themselves? Have they helped other people get to that stage place with your similar background and have done it multiple times? Because if they've done it themselves, they might have just gotten lucky or they're not a good coach. But if they've done it with at least one person, you have validation. But again, it's like, did they do it with someone with your background? But they've done it multiple times with the people of your background where you want to go, then of course, no brainer there. And I always like to share this story in my community, which is a couple of years ago, my plumbing in my house was broken and it was Sunday, so you couldn't call a plumber in. So I decided to, hey, Davis, you know what? You're just going to go on some YouTube videos, do it yourself on this. And so I'm like spending a whole entire afternoon. And at the time, I wasn't charging what I was charging now, but I was charging at least like, at that time, I think about an hour was like $2,000 an hour. And so I go into, and I'm just watching these videos, I fix it. I just cannot figure out why the plumbing's not working. And I'm like, screw it. You know what? It's Sunday evening. I'm going to dinner. I'm just going to call a plumber for tomorrow. Plumber comes in, looks at the situation, and he says, okay, yeah, you just got to move this over here. And he moves it like 5 centimeters. And of course, he bills me for the hour. It's like totally fine. And it's like, wow. He just looks at the problem, looks at the piping, and just knows, okay, this is what we need to move here. And he was also saying, oh, by the way, good thing you didn't move this thing because this could have broken this, which could have caused way more damage. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I probably would have broken it at some point by accident or turned it on because if I had continued, right? And so it's like sometimes you just pay whatever the amount is, and you avoid the mistakes, it's not just saving times, it's also saving the damage you would have done to yourself.
It's so true. Like you're paying 30 minutes or for somebody else's 10 years. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just amazing. And then it's like I love that's why Daniel, like you and I get along. It's just like we have that same mindset and that same belief. Well, here's a question I'd love to ask you is like what's like the number one advice you would give to other career coaches who are looking to scale their income and their impact?
I think the first thing is to focus on one thing first, right? I think that the majority of the problems that I see from career coaches is that they are trying to solve everything at once. They're trying to build their course, record their content, write a book, be in a podcast, write a YouTube channel, grow their LinkedIn. They want to help everyone and everything. There's no niche. And if they can just simplify and solve one problem at a time and say, okay, first I need to do is solve the right offer. Do I have a right clear or avatar or ICP that I'm helping? Do I have a clear offer? And then second, then figure out how to get leads. And don't worry about building a scalable system right away. Just focus on getting leads, get them clients, and get them results.
I love that simplification of it too. It's like the first one is just so core. I see so many coaches, they try to be everything to everyone. Yes. And the metaphor I like to use that really sticks is that imagine you wanted some sushi. Are you going to go to a sushi restaurant or a Chinese buffet that has everything plus some Thai food? And then they're like, I go to the sushi restaurant. I was like, well, then why are you trying to be a Chinese buffet? Don't get me wrong. I love my Chinese buffets, but when I need sushi, I'm not going to a Chinese buffet just to get sushi. And so that's like forms the core of everything, right? And so I love that you believe the same way as well in terms of where to start. And it's amazing. Like so many people can have a bigger impact in the world if they just decide, hey, don't try to be everything to everyone. Be something great for someone. And then from there, you can figure out the rest of it.
You don't need 1 million customers. Like you don't need 1 million customers to make $1 million, right? And I think that's the misconception. Is like, well, if I just niche down to people who want to go into management consultant, like I'm excluding 99.9% of the world. I'm like, good, but that's the reason why they're going to come to you, because they feel like you're an expert. And also, if I think about like the Chinese buffet, I don't ever think about the Chinese buffet being expensive, right? I think about a value meal, right? I think about like, yeah, it might be $29.99, but I don't ever think of the quality. So like it goes back to, it'd be very, very difficult for you to charge when you're a generalist, to charge enough money when you're a generalist.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the idea is that you want to be a category of one, and you know that you're doing well when this happens, which is when people come to you, they don't say, yeah, Daniel, why am I going to work with you? Davis is $20 cheaper. If that is what people are comparing and coming to you with, you don't have a category one. You're basically a Chinese buffet. You're like, hey, Chinese buffet across the street is charging $25.99. Why am I paying $29.99, right? Versus that sushi restaurant down the block that's specializing in only sashimi, they're not getting competition. And so that's where you want to be. As in, you don't want to be the Chinese buffet. As much as I love Chinese buffets, you don't want to be that. It's just be the category of one. Don't get compared. And so that's amazing advice, Daniel. And obviously, you're all over the socials, but where can people find out more about you, more Opni, more about the LinkedIn Coaches Accelerator?
Yeah, no, thanks so much for that. I would say LinkedIn is the place where I spend the majority of the time. If you just search Daniel Botero, I'll pop up. And if you're a career coach, I have a free community for career coach on School, where you just go to school.com/career coaches.
Oh, awesome. We'll include that in the show notes as well, Daniel. So I appreciate you taking time on the show. I know you just got back from a trip and you're about to go on another trip. So I appreciate you making time.
No, Davis, thanks for having me.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This conversation was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. To learn more about Purple Circle, our community, and how we can help you grow your business, visit joinpurplecircle.com.